Welcome to the Senior Hour. Barb and Jean are taking a well-deserved break today. Your host for the day, Dr. Thomas Polucki, and I'm here with Jen Azevedo and Cezanne Youmazzo from Paseo Club. And today's show, we're going to be focusing on dementia, particularly Alzheimer's disease. A lot of great research is coming out on Alzheimer's, and one of the top ways to reduce your risk, because once the symptoms show up, there's nothing. I mean, you can delay the progress, you can kind of mitigate the symptoms a little bit, but it's pretty bad once the symptoms are there. But the research shows that the problem starts 20 years prior. And that's what I want the focus of today's show about. What can we be doing to reduce the risk? And there's great research out there right now about eliminating, well, not necessarily eliminating, but reducing the risk anywhere from 25% all the way up to 85% by some self-care, lifestyle medicine. And for those of you who that may be a new idea for in this country, diet, exercise, stress management, specific nutrition, and at least a big chunk of the show, we got to talk about sleep, because there's a big part of this problem is the people are not sleeping. It's almost a badge of honor. You know, I know, Jen, you can pipe in with, I mean, taking over running the Paseo Club.
Absolutely.
I know you're not sleeping.
No, not as much as I should. No.
You're not sleeping. So, and I just wrote a book, and I didn't sleep for nearly 2 months writing the book. And we all think, oh, well, it's just what you have to do. You know, I don't care. I'll sleep when I'm dead. No. What they find is that every hour outside of prime time, and we'll get into that a little bit, every hour outside of prime time increases your risk of developing dementia by 25%.
It's pretty staggering.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Better sleep some more.
I guess so.
Yeah. Find it. Find the
Something to
time.
work
Find
on.
the time, because both of you ladies don't have to worry about fitness. We're going to talk a lot about fitness and how important that is to, you know, reduce your risk, not just for Alzheimer's, but that's good. They're going to be the focus of today's show. But for every one of the chronic diseases, every single one, and that's 85% of what our healthcare dollars in this country are spent on, is fighting chronic diseases.
Absolutely.
And just a quick background, and then we're going to go around and meet and greet everybody here on today's show. And I know I'm monopolizing the conversation, but I just want to get everything up to speed. My absolute obsession with natural medicine happened 40 years ago when I was testing for Johns Hopkins Medical School, and someone we didn't even consider a real doctor essentially got rid of half a dozen incurable diseases for me personally. Got me off lifelong prescription medications inside of 1 year period. And it totally changed the trajectory of my life. I knew I was going to be a doctor. That was a given. But what kind of doctor? When he was able to do something in a year that all of my excellent medical doctors couldn't do for my whole life, I had to reevaluate where I was going to go to school and how I was going to practice. So that's been my life for the past 40 years. And I promise I'll let you talk in a second. But prior to that, I was already prepped and primed, because my childhood hero was Jack LaLanne.
Yes.
Perfect.
Are you guys even old
yes.
enough to
We
know
know
who I'm
him.
talking about?
Absolutely.
We know his
Absolutely.
wife, Elaine
Yes.
LaLanne. We see her every year at our fitness conferences.
I gotta go.
Yeah.
You gotta go.
I gotta
She's
go.
an amazing
Amazing.
lady.
She is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, just
so
a couple
for-
years ago, she would come out and do push-ups
I know.
for us. It was great.
I know. So this audience knows who I'm speaking to, so I don't have to explain it. But Jack LaLanne was on the TV through the 60s, the 70s, and into the 80s. Every time he was on TV, he was talking about, eat this, and going around the house. Like the studio was set up. I don't know if it was actually his house or it was a studio, but it was set up like a house, and he would just like pick up everyday objects and start exercising with them, which I think is brilliant. That's one of my main things is there can't be any excuses. There can't be anything to get in the way of you doing half an hour of moderate exercise a day. And we're going to get into that a little bit. But first, as promised, I'm going to let you talk for at least a little bit. So, Jen, tell us about what's going on in the Paseo Club as far as it is concerned with this audience, the senior population of Santa Clarita.
Absolutely. I mean, we've got a great senior population. We absolutely enjoy having all of our seniors there. It's a big component of our community. You've had people of all ages that have made their way out to Santa Clarita Valley, raised families. Those families have gone on, and now they're seniors that are out here, and they need activities of their own. So we do a lot for our senior community. Obviously, there are a lot of seniors playing pickleball these days because everybody loves their pickleball. But we have seniors that are taking part in all of our group exercise classes. They're taking part in liquid cardio, getting in the pool and getting their workouts, and and then just really having that social interaction time. So they're staying vibrant within their community of friends, and just keeping it going.
I love it. And Cezanne, you are director of fitness there at
Correct.
Paseo. Am I saying that right? Is
Yes,
that accurate?
that's
Okay,
accurate.
so tell me what that entails as far as this community of seniors goes.
So right now we have a variety of classes that a lot of our seniors partake in. We also do a lot of personal training, one-on-one training with our seniors for fall prevention and different things. We have quite a few over 80-year-olds that personal train on a regular basis 2 to 3 times a week.
I love it.
And they really find the value in it. So they see it as a must, and I love that. And then our liquid cardio classes tend to get a ton of seniors in them. The social aspect is really important for them. They develop friendships. They love coming to our club, and now pickleball has really,
Yeah.
it's crazy. I played this morning in the league match myself. I'm almost a senior, but not there yet.
Yeah.
Right? But
It's
it's
okay.
been fun. And then,
We'll give you a pass today.
right, just
You're
one
honorary.
pass. I'm an honorary senior.
Oh, when that AARP card
it
came
came.
for me,
I have it.
I'm like, oh,
51.
no.
It happened. It happened.
Okay, so back to today's topic of Alzheimer's. So one of one of the most important things that people can do to prevent this top 10 killer, it's on that list. It's a top 10 killer disease in this country. There's nothing to do. I mean, there's no turning it around once it's diagnosed. But as I said earlier in the introduction, the disease is in progress for nearly 20 years before it's diagnosed. And what can you do? And all the research right now, because there is no miracle drug, it's just not an option. So what do? Well, it's our specialty. It's natural medicine. It is exercise. It is diet. It is sleep. It is stress management. And I'm going to talk a little bit about each one of those and let you handle most of the exercise portion of this. I do want to point out some of the studies that I was looking at in the research of this. It's absolutely insane. The Journal of the American Medical Association, the neurological, as little as 4,000 steps a day. 4,000 steps a day. Now that may be a challenge for some of our audience. So maybe you get those 4,000 steps in the water at the Paseo Club. 4,000 steps a day reduces the risk by 25%.
That's amazing.
Wow.
If you're able to up that to 10,000, you cut the risk in half. And this is particularly about Alzheimer's, but would imagine, because the same chemistry, the same neurology, the same biology is involved in all of the chronic disease processes. That would hold true to the other top 10 killers as well. 85% of our medical dollars are spent on trying to treat these diseases after the fact when they can all be avoided. So, one more study, and then I want to really focus in on your senior population at the Paseo Club. Is more than 500,000 veterans have been followed for the past 3 decades. More than 650,000 vets have been monitored for the past over 30 years, and even moderate exercise, like I said, 4,000 steps, 4,000 steps. Moderate exercise decreased the risk by a third, 33%.
Yep.
Just getting 4,000 steps in a day. So, Cezanne, can you talk a little bit about the senior programs in some detail? I have to admit, I talked to Jen a month, I don't know, 6 weeks ago, whatever, and she let me know about some of the programs you're doing. So I want a little bit more detail on the specifics.
Absolutely. So a lot of our classes right now, we have indoor cycle classes where it's cardiovascular. So it's non-impact for the seniors that have bad joints per se, but they want to really move and increase their endorphins. So our cycle classes are great, burn tons of calories there, and again, social. I think social is a big deal with Alzheimer's as well.
It really is.
And the endorphins help to combat depression and loneliness. So these things are big. Our liquid cardio classes, there's running in the pool back and forth. They use buoy weights to move their arms to get stronger, and then they run in the deep end as well. So if walking's not an option for people that have issues, the pool's a great place. And it's an hour-long class, so they're getting, I'm sure, more than 4,000 steps in that pool for sure.
Absolutely.
Then,
So can I ask,
yes.
is the pool heated year round?
It is, yes.
Okay, perfect.
It's a wonderful pool too. It's outdoors. It overlooks the wash, which makes it feel like you're at a country club for the day.
Fresh air and sunshine
Yeah,
is
it's
another
beautiful.
part of the equation.
Absolutely.
You know, there's benefit to all exercise, but when you can do it outside, it's way up there.
Yep. And then Zumba. Zumba's really popular with our senior ladies as well. I see a lot of our seniors really enjoying dancing. They might not like riding a bike or getting in the pool, but they love to dance, and that's another way to get those steps in.
Sure.
As well. And then we just started a new program at our club. It's blood flow restriction training. I don't know if you've heard about it.
Yeah, pretty much like a blood pressure cuff, and then you exercise with
Yeah.
that stuff on.
But what's great about it is it cuts your exercise time in half. So if you're a senior and you can't go for 20 minutes, you can go for 10 minutes, and you get the same benefits as someone who goes for 20 minutes.
Love that.
So this is our new thing that we're starting to use, and it's really working. I've got a few people that I'm training on a regular basis, and I can see their muscle mass increase, and they're getting stronger, and they're able to go faster. And I'm working with a senior right now doing that, and they're seeing a lot of improvements with it.
That's great.
Yeah.
So, Jen, I know you offer food over there at the Paseo Club, but do you have nutrition programs for your clients?
Yeah, we have a great, it's called our Greatest Results Program, and it's actually run by Cezanne and a couple of our other trainers, but they do a phenomenal job. They go grocery shopping together, they food prep together, they teach you, smart tricks and tips to be more aware of your nutrition and what you're using to fuel your body as opposed to just grabbing what's on hand or running through a drive-through or, making smarter decisions, because we all know exercise, can take you very far, but diet's pretty important.
Yeah, it's another quarter of the equation. Real quick, the diet portion of that, let's see. what I have about that. And I'm just quoting, PubMed studies on this. The diet. So, what we believe Alzheimer's is right now is an accumulation of two different substances. One is an amyloid protein, and the other is an amyloid, which is not a protein, I'm sorry, an amyloid and a tau protein. And what does that mean? Nobody cares. It means that weird chemistry is happening in the brain, and the brain tissue itself is responding to that weird chemistry. And how does that weird chemistry happen? A couple different ways. One is inflammation. So we're looking at more anti-inflammatory diets, and again, not just in your 60s and your 70s when you're starting to exhibit these symptoms, but lifelong. Start early, or reduce the risk as much as possible. And we've been told for so long that glucose is the only form of energy in the body. And it's not really accurate. I know first-year medical students, because I've taught them, that believe that glucose is the only form. It all has to come down to glucose. It delivers a couple of electrons into the Krebs cycle, yada, yada, yada. Uh, Most of the most important energy happens inside the mitochondria, and that is beta oxidation. So that is more fats, fatty acids, those kinds of things. Proteins and fatty acids are the primary source of energy for how we really make energy in our bodies. One particular diet is a hybridization of the Mediterranean diet, which supplies a lot of unsaturated fats, and the DASH diet, which reduces sodium. So they call this particular diet the MIND diet. And, it's a cute acronym, but what it does is it reduces the risk. It slows brain aging by 7 years. 7 years with a diet. So those are the kinds of things that we can do on a preventative basis, the diet and the exercise. And number 3 on the list is stress management. Exercise is one of the best forms of stress management out there. In my book, it gets, it's a quarter of the equation, stress management. So there's a whole bunch of different ways to manage stress. I practice a kind of chiropractic, no twisting or cracking, just tapping people's joints with this thing. That has some real good studies on changing the way that the brain processes stress in your body. Pretty amazing stuff. Actually decreases the stress response in the brain, decreases cortisol production in the body, which in turn, like exercise does, moderate exercise does, changes the way that your body metabolizes sugar. So the first thing is limit a lot of sugar in your diet, which is unfortunately so many processed foods that the senior population tend to gravitate for. Convenience and comfort is a big thing as we get older, but unfortunately it's not so great for you. Not so great for you. So taking a few precautions with limiting that and with your outings, to make sure that you eat the rainbow and mostly vegetables, a couple of fruits thrown in there for good, and nice good quality lean proteins, and limit the starchy foods that are pretty much everywhere else. Is more whole grains. Really not so much. I'm not on that train.
I also find, though, seniors have a hard time with whole grains.
Yeah, good.
Their guts can't handle it anymore.
That's
To be
right.
honest with you, they
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah. So
So,
that recommendation is
no.
not appropriate for this audience or possibly anybody. You're listening to the Senior Hour on KHTS. 98.1 AM 1220 and your hometownstation.com. Welcome back to the Senior Hour. I'm Dr. Thomas Polucki. Jen Azevedo and Cezanne Youmazzo are here in the studio today from the Paseo Club. Barbara and Jean are taking a well-deserved break today. You're listening to KHTS 98.1 AM, 90 FM 98.1 AM 1220 on hometownstation.com. Today we're talking about Alzheimer's, dementia, but Alzheimer's is the number one form of dementia out there. And it is a very real situation for our senior community. 1 in 3 people are going to eventually be diagnosed with Alzheimer's. The problem is that once you're diagnosed with it, there's no real answer. There's only slowing the progress. But I hate that. That's like, I feel like Captain Kirk in the Kobayashi Maru. I don't accept a no-win situation. So I'm always looking for, all right, so we know the rule. And the game changer here is what we all specialize in, and that is natural medicine. Not waiting until it's a medical life or death situation, but preventing from ever getting there in the first place, right? So you ladies specialize in fitness at the Paseo Club. And of course, that includes exercise in the programs that we're going to talk about in this segment. And also, you have some specialized nutrition programs for your senior community.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to talk more about that because that's half the equation right there. And it also touches on the other 2 halves of the equation as well, because with better nutrition and with better exercise, you tend to sleep better as well. That's a big one that most people miss, especially when you have to hustle, like we do here in Southern California. Sleep is a big one. And most people sacrifice their sleep, but they don't realize what they're really sacrificing. They think that it's okay not to sleep so much, that it's not that big a deal. I can do this. I can power through this. And every time, people need to know that every hour outside of, and this is critical for a bunch of different reasons, and people want to cheat the system, but they can't. It's uncheatable system. The sleep prime time is 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. That is true on so many different levels. It's due to us being daylight creatures, our circadian cycle, how hormones and body chemistry and brain chemistry and the way our bodies operate are tied to sunlight.
Mm-hmm.
And stuff messes with that. Computers more than anything else. Now cell phones. Now people aren't so much on the computer anymore. Like me, I'm old school. But they're on their phones. And their phones are enough because that bright blue light is right in your face most of the time, that it can really mess with some of that brain chemistry, those hormones, those daylight cycles. And I try to get my wife not to bring the phone to bed. But she does. She's in there in that bright blue light. And then she sometimes has some issues sleeping because of it. And, well,
Yeah.
It's tough.
it's tough. When you have to run the Paseo Club, sleep is not necessarily your priority.
Not all the time. And like you said, you bring the phone to bed and then you're going to check.
Yeah.
You hear a little buzz, you're going to check. You wake up in the middle of the night, you're going to check. And you're constantly fighting that battle.
Yeah. So, 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. Do not cheat. Do not cheat that. Here's why. during the day, when your brain is active, when your brain has to keep working, it's imagine it's like a factory and it's churning out this smoke,
Yeah.
right? So it's churning out this smoke, and that can actually build up and cause damage. What we now know about how to get rid of that smoke, how to, let the whole place air out, happens in REM and deep cycle sleep. So just because you're laying in bed doesn't mean you're resting. In fact, some of the better watch programs out there, like yeah,
Whoop.
what is a
This is
Fitbit?
a Whoop.
A Whoop? Okay,
It's not really a watch.
okay,
It tells you your recovery.
okay. Does it have a sleep monitor?
Yeah, it has a
Perfect.
sleep monitor. You put the battery over it, and it tells you whether you are recovered enough to exercise the next day too.
I love that.
So it'll tell you what your strain is, your daily strain, and then what your recovery looked like.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Same.
you got it. You got
I'm a Garmin girl.
Garmin.
Yep,
Okay.
but same idea. Every
Yep.
day I can see how much REM I got the night before,
Yeah.
and my watch will do the same thing. If I say that I'm going to work out, it's going to let me know. Listen, you didn't get enough rest last night. Maybe you should
Yeah.
temper a little bit.
So I think I'm a little bit older than you guys, ladies. Sorry. Uh, I try to stay away from tech as much as possible. I just come from, I got through college before there were computers, much less an internet. So I'm not as addicted to technology as so many people are these days, and I'm sure a lot of the audience feels the same way. Sure, they learned Facebook and they learned emails and stuff like that, but they're not slaves to their stuff. There was a time where I had 2 different smartwatches and 3 different phones, and I was like, no more. So now I often forget my phone in places, which I love. I love
Right.
that I'm not a slave to it anymore. I have the only time I wear my watch now is during bed to track my sleep cycle and make sure that I'm getting into that REM, that I'm getting into that deep sleep, because it's a fraction of the time you spend in bed.
Mm-hmm.
So I track some of my patients with it, and you can see there's a sliver of REM, and then a sliver of deep, and that's when all that smoke clears out, where the inflammation of the daily processes of having to use your brain can recover. Critically important. That's the stuff that we want to go after. And partially it can be done with exercise, increasing your aerobic activity during the day. And what that means is breathing in through the nose, critically important, because your nose has this special thing at the roof of it, in between your nose and your brain, that manufactures a chemical called nitric oxide when you deep breathe, when you force air through there, because air is mostly nitrogen and a little bit of oxygen. And there's a structure in our nose that when we breathe heavy through our nose, it converts that into one of the most life-saving chemicals that science knows about right now, nitric oxide, which treats heart disease, among other things, the number 1 killer, and benefits circulation and stamina and all the good stuff, including in the brain. So it's all good. So exercise is critically important. I'm going to take a breath and let you ladies talk for a little bit. So, Cezanne, um, take me through the process of how would somebody, a senior, never been to the Paseo Club, doesn't even know where it is, never heard of it, how are they going to get involved?
Hopefully, they find their way to our club by a friend, or we always encourage our members to bring a guest with them, or to our many events, because we have Wind Down Wednesdays, which attract a ton of seniors to dance. And then once they're in at the door, we set them up with our membership department, once they are members, they get set up with Jen and I, and they get a welcome from me and from Jen to encourage them to come and partake in a new member workout session so we can learn more about them and help them navigate our many classes and schedules. And then with Jen for pickleball and tennis.
Awesome. Awesome. And you mentioned in the other segment, you also do nutrition stuff.
We do.
So I want to hear more about that because I'm intrigued about you're taking them to the store, you're picking out the food, you're showing them the food prep.
That's a special program that we
Okay.
offer called the Greatest Results Program. And it's nutrition and exercise. So we do food prep and food cooking. We teach them how to cook healthier using different choices and how to just make easy dishes so it's not complicated. And we take them through the aisles of the store and we teach them that the perimeter is where you want to stay because that's where all the good stuff is. And then we read labels. I teach them how to read food labels so they know how much sugar is in something, and also portion size is big. Look at the calories, look at how much of that item you get to have that. So a lot of people don't understand nutrition labels. So getting them to understand that, and then also about using their hands as measurement tools. So if they're at a restaurant, the palm of your hand is your protein for a female, 2 palms for a male, and then use 2 fists for your vegetables. And then what you can fit in your hand is your grain or your carbohydrate that's not a vegetable source, right? And then your fat is your thumb. So and that's your avocado, your olive oil, all of those things. So we teach them how to use simple measurement tools, and we make it simplified for them. We tell them that it's not good, bad foods. It's make better. This is a better choice. This is sometimes, and this is only, occasionally food.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you're doing that. Believe it or not, that,
Yeah.
hand thing is taught in kindergarten in Europe.
Yeah.
That's
Wow.
that's their health education class in
Well,
Europe.
It makes
It's-
sense. You've always got your measurement tools with
Yeah.
you,
Right.
and yeah. And we use a system. I'm certified through Precision Nutrition, and they're great. They have a wonderful program. They teach you about vitamins and just how to really coach people, not just nutrition wise, but psychology. Why? Asking people questions, instead of telling me what you can't do, tell me what you can do. Tell me what you want. Don't tell me what you don't want.
Right.
So turn it more positive and start figuring things out. I'm working with a client right now who gets dizzy very easily. So I created a whole program where she never has to lay down. So we're doing everything sitting up. We're doing everything that she can manage. And she leaves me feeling so much better about herself because she tries to walk in and into the gym and she gets discouraged because she doesn't feel good. She gets dizzy. Every trainer she's ever had puts her on the ground and flips her over and makes her stand up, and then she's nauseous.
Yeah.
So I've created a whole program for her where she just leaves feeling confident, feeling good about herself, and she's making positive changes now.
I love that.
Yeah. It's what can you do? Let's focus on that. Let's not focus on what you can't do,
Right.
right?
Right. Yeah. We have the same philosophy. You got to change the conversation.
Yeah.
Because so many people come into any situation, especially a natural medicine situation, where they've been told time and time again, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this, you can't do that. And then they come in believing that that's the way they should operate in our world.
Right. It's true.
And, you got to change it around to, okay, so what can we focus on? What do you want? What do you want to accomplish?
What does that look like?
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
questions like that.
Yeah.
Not just what do you want to accomplish, but what do you think it's going to look like 3 months from now? If you accomplish it, how will you feel? Things like that, because then it gets people thinking about it more,
Yeah.
and it makes them feel more connected and accountable to their goals.
Yeah. And as you said earlier, one of the biggest things, Alzheimer's is often missed completely for the first 20 years that it's developing because people just think they're sad or depressed.
Yep.
And it's a big equation. Like it's misdiagnosed because people just don't feel happy or optimistic, or and there's a lot of good reasons for that. There's a lot of good reasons for that. Some of them are chemical.
Yep.
Some of that can be managed with better nutrition
And
choices, with
exercise.
very focused, targeted supplements. And some of it is just having a purpose. Some of it
Absolutely.
is having social interaction. Now we're fortunate enough that we are allowed to get together again, that we are
Mm-hmm.
allowed to be in a group, to go to somewhere like the Paseo Club and be able to interact with people and get some good nutritional advice, get some good targeted exercise. That sounds to me like it's a lot more personalized than well, just sign up for a class at the whatever local facility. Like you're actually
Absolutely.
getting something that is going to help you, because so many people, I've been doing this a long time, so many people get hurt when they try to start an exercise program.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I'm a huge advocate. I was an advocate of exercise before I ever became any kind of doctor. I know how critically important it is, but the last thing you want from any exercise program is to get hurt before you start. And it
Exactly.
happens way too much. It happened to me. I've torn up both shoulders, both knees, blown out every disc in my lower back and half of the ones in my neck, all doing exercise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because you want to follow the people who have what you've got. You want to follow the big guys at the gym. For men, you want to follow the big guys at the gym, and they might not be doing stuff safely.
Right. Or
Yeah.
stuff that your body's prepared for.
Exactly.
I also find people walk in and they think that they're going to start with what they left off with
Right.
last time they were there.
Right.
So they'll start with the same weight that they were lifting when they 6 months ago. So they walk in and they hurt themselves because they don't realize they have to start from the basics again, and they have to work their way up to the heavier weights, to the longer sessions, And I always coach every person that I come across walking in the door as, don't worry about this end goal. Let's worry about today. Let's see where you're at. Let's start with lightweight. Let's see how you handle this, and we'll progress from here.
Yeah.
I'd much rather them get a safe, effective workout than leave and tomorrow their neck's out.
Yeah. Or they
You know?
can't. Or they can't come back.
Or they don't
Mm-hmm.
want to come
Or they
back
don't
because
wanna
they're
come
so
back.
sore
Yeah.
that I'm doing that again. Right?
And we'll be right back in just a moment. You're listening to the Senior Hour, KHTS, FM 98.1, AM 1220, and your hometownstation.com. Welcome back to the Senior Hour on KHTS FM in 98.1, AM 1220, and hometownstation.com. We are here in the studio with Jen Azevedo and Cezanne Youmazzo from Paseo Club. And I'd like to give you the mic for the closing statements on, what can the Paseo Club do for our senior population?
Well, I really think we kind of bring those four components together being at the club. Obviously you've got that social place to come and you help mitigate some stress. We've all talked about how getting some exercise every day helps your stress, helps you to get to better sleep. We have programs that help you with your nutrition, and really putting those four pieces together, like you said, that's the equation. That's how we're really going to help to get away from things like Alzheimer's. We're helping to get the risk lower. We're helping to, protect the heart. We're protecting the mind. We're, especially we get into these senior years, having a place like Paseo to go, regularly and have that just be part of your daily activity is helping to fight off, some of these things. And we don't have to wait until, like you said, we don't have to wait until it's too late and the symptoms are there. You start right now and start helping those symptoms before it's too late.
Yeah. Yeah. Prevention is everything. As for all of the chronic diseases. 85% of the American health dollar goes towards treating chronic disease, and they're all preventable with simple lifestyle choices. And natural medicine is the focus of that. I've been doing it for 40 years, well, 30 years professionally, but I've been studying it for a lot longer. It does things that there's always going to be a place for emergency medicine. Our conventional medicine system absolutely has its place. But when you can avoid 85% of the problems, why is that not the emphasis? Why is that not the headline news on every show, on every story, uh, every night? Uh, uh, that's what we're here for. That's why we're here talking on the radio to the senior community in Santa Clarita on AM 1220, KHTS 98.1 FM, and your hometown This has been the Senior Hour. I'm Dr. Thomas Polucki, taking the reins, at least for today, for Barb and Jean. And our guests today have been Jen Azevedo and Cezanne Youmazzo from Paseo Club. Thank you so much for all that you do here in the Santa Clarita community for our senior center. Now go out and enhance your quality of life.